Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us. So, we're on week 22 of the Auric programming journey. And so, this is innovative action and slash thinking. So, this is tied to the intuitive mind, an aspect of the intuitive mind. Like how we problem solve, how we overcome obstacles, how we even learn is tied more to intuition than intellect. Intellect is tied more to our past experiences and the things that we've learned, indirect experiences, which means, other people's opinions, studying things in a book or in a class, something like that. Where when we are looking at intuition, it's usually based on direct experience and it's usually has to do with processing in the moment. When you look at intellect, it comes up with an idea or a hypothesis and then spends time to try to validate, is it right or is it not right? Is it accurate? Is it not accurate? Where intuition just takes in information, begins processing and dealing with something right in the moment. And if it's not working, it adjusts and adapts. So your ability to overcome obstacles, your ability to actively learn, your ability to innovate, problem solve are all tied more to intuition than intellect. Yet we tend to cling to intellect just because of its nature. It's very repetitive, it maintains things, and it processes things of the senses. So there's a lot of information coming in where intuition is beyond the senses. It doesn't quite have the sensory input that intellect does. So with this, you could say we're aligning more with our intuitive faculties or our higher nature. This is where even guidance from the soul would come in. Intellect is going to do everything on past experiences, but this is where the soul can guide us and put us in the right place at the right time, right? So there's some conditions that this could be used for, but I would say more than those conditions, there's psychological reasons to do this and um, things to do with materialization as well as spiritual or mystical reasons why to do this one. This is actually the blend alignment was used in one of the processes where we did a deeper dive on the three brains, where we're aligning the instinct, the emotional body, and the mental body. So, it's used in some different ways. But with that, let's go ahead and pull out our blend alignment. We're going to start with the standard approach. Begin inhaling. Your awareness is on the left side of your body, left side of your face and neck, your left shoulder and ribs, your left hip, down the outer leg to the left outer ankle. Nice, long, slow, deep breaths. You're inhaling, your awareness is on the left side of your body. Your awareness is the front side of the body. The face and throat, the chest, the abdomen, down the fronts of the legs to the tops of your feet. Nice, long, slow, deep breaths. The right side of your body, right side of your face and neck, your right shoulder, your ribs, your right hip, down the outer leg to the right outer ankle. Nice, long, slow, deep breaths. Your awareness is on the right side of the body. You're taking nice, long, slow, deep breaths. Now, the back side of the body, back of the head and neck, your whole back, your hips, the backs of your feet, all the way to your heels. And just pause and be still. Pause and be still. Now, that was the standard approach, which is something you can do daily. You can integrate it into other protocol, or you can do Auric stack. Where you take several, 3 or 4, even up to 5 Auric programs and stack them together as a practice into itself. So now we're going to do the advanced approach. This is something you'd only do once or twice a week. That way your energy body has time to kind of process it. So you're using the same oil, and here we go. Your awareness is on the left side of your body, left side of your face and neck, your left shoulder, left hip, down the outer leg to the left outer ankle. Move your awareness to the back side of the body, back of the head and neck, your whole back and hips, down the backs of your legs to your heels. And then the right side of your body, right side of your face and neck, your right shoulder, all the way down the right hip, the outer leg to the right outer ankle. And then the front side of your body, the whole front side, your face and throat, your chest, abdomen, front of your pelvis, down the fronts of your legs to the tops of your feet. And then just pause and be still. Pause and be still. Begin inhaling. Your awareness is on the knees, either your whole knee or the backside of your knee. Either way, your awareness is on your knees. Nice, long, slow, deep breaths. Your awareness is on the ankles. Your awareness is on the ankles. Your awareness is on your ankles. You're taking nice, long, slow, deep breaths. And then the soles of your feet. And then just pause and be still. So straight. Yeah, it's nice. Mhm. Okay. Left side of your body, left side of your face and neck, your left shoulder, ribs, left hip, down the leg to the left outer ankle. the front side of your body, your face and throat, chest, abdomen, down the fronts of your legs to the tops of your feet. Awareness is on the right side of your body, right side of your face and neck, your right shoulder, all the way down to the right outer ankle. Nice, long, slow, deep breath. The whole backside of your body. The whole backside. Backside of your head and neck, your whole back, your hips down the backs of your legs to your heels, the whole backside. And then pause and be still. And then pause. Just pause. You're letting go. Now we're going to do the last little section. Your awareness is on the brain. Nice, long, slow, deep breaths with your awareness on the brain. Your spine. Your awareness is on the spine. your brain and spine both at the same time. And now your brain and soles of your feet. As you inhale, move your awareness up above the ankles. As you exhale, down into the earth. Inhale up, exhale down. And then just pause and be still. Just pause and be still. Notice how you feel, your body, your emotions, your thoughts. I don't know about for you, but for me, a lot of times when I do this practice, my mind is quiet and still, but it doesn't mean like sleepy or sedated. Like I just feel like if somebody said, "What are you thinking about?" I'd say nothing, but it doesn't mean that I couldn't like jump on something and start doing it. It's the mind is just not going pop 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 pop. Which when I was younger, that was my middle name. Pop 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 pop. I mean, God, I had a monkey mind, and so it calms everything down. It You're not completely in the intuitive mind, like the intuitive mind and intellect are both kind of interacting. They're kind of harmonizing and getting along with each other, you could say. You know, but again, I feel like I could observe very easily, but if I had to take action, I could take action. And it's one of those things where how you take action, it's like, well, okay, I have to get up and do this to have the energy in my legs to get up and do this. Where when you're in this state, you just get up and start doing it. You don't really think about it. So I know this is a good one. Like it's kind of quietly good. Like, you know what I mean? It's not one of the ones where you go, this will mop up the crime scene. It helps like avoid the crime scene. But anyway, I don't know. Those are just my personal experiences. I mean, I don't know about you, but so we can go ahead and unmute ourselves and type in. We'll do the org program questions and shares for just a few minutes, and then we'll jump into normal Q&A. So.
Just 1 second. Go ahead, Dorothy.
Hey, Dorothy.
You should be able to unmute. Oh, did I make it so you couldn't unmute
Oh,
still? Oh, you're good. Yeah, you
I'm
can.
good. Okay. Hey, thank you for doing this with us. I was just looking over some of the previous programs, and my attention was drawn to the first one we did, which is active intelligence. And it does list under it that harmonizes the intellectual and intuitive minds. So could you kind of go over perhaps the differences between the active intelligence and this one that we just did?
Sure. This one has more to do with aligning yourself with more of the intuitive mind, where the active intelligence is just like those two parts interacting with each other, you know, intellect and intuition, where this is increasing an alignment more with the intuitive side of the mind. You know, one of the big things in any spiritual or even mystical practice, deeper for mystical practice, is really breaking out of the intellect. You know, we're so driven by the senses that it's hard for us to kind of let go, you know. And the idea with using alignment is you're starting to little by little align more with the intuitive side of your mind rather than always being in the intellectual part. Where
Okay.
active intelligence is just communication between the two sides.
Oh,
Like
okay,
here,
great.
we're like going, okay, because like how we are guided by the soul is through intuition, you know, and so it's it's like a slow movement to that more intuitive side that feels like more guided than based on the past. And so there
Right.
is still that interaction, you know, because really, you know, even when we think about it from a point of view of intellect, we think about, okay, we got to harmonize the intellect and the intuition, which is true. You know, the more that we do that is true. But part of the issue is we also almost like need to break them apart. Like you know, it's like if two dogs are fighting, you don't let them keep fighting and go, okay, now you guys behave. You like separate them and then you go, you guys behave, right? We kind of have to do a version of that with our mind. And you know, in inner practices, you know, I think the thing that they say in Astara is splitting the mental atom. You know, like there's actually a great visual of it. And it is kind of like this breaking apart of intellect and intuition and allowing them to function independently and then bringing them back together and go, okay, now let's start working with each other. Where before they're just kind of fused and, you know, we get little flashes of intuition, but intellect, you know, wrestles whatever away and doesn't really let things like move in that way. And you know, the stumbling block there also is that intuition is the processes associated with healing. And so it really slows down our ability to heal physically and psychologically and even like patterns in our life. And so you know, it's not like none of them are like the complete package. It's just these little like nuances that you keep moving in that direction of being able to access more of the intuitive side. And you know, every kind of deep spiritual practice has some version of it, but it's a slow movement. And the deeper practice in the Christian tradition would be like if one is able to move in a line enough into intuition, it's like something wakes up. It's literally what they mean as being born again. Like, you're stepping out of that intellectual mind and you're starting to experience more of the intuitive side, which is really where you're going to experience or commune with Christ. It's not going to be in your
Mhm.
intellect, right? And so, like in that, they would say, "Oh, you're born again." So it shows that it is something that is a thing that has to be cultivated over a period of time. And a lot of times to the general public, even if you sat and explained all of it out with, you know, even if they have some experiences here and there, like how we do our practices, they wouldn't know what you're talking about. Like that, they wouldn't, even the idea of intuition is, kooky or wacky, or, they tie some like little instinctive response to like, oh, that's intuition, or, they usually discount it quite substantially. And so for the general public, even the idea that there's these two pieces of the mind, even that's just a foreign idea. But here with doing these practices, in your teachings, that's what you're doing is you're trying to move a bit more into the intuitive mind and align with that a little bit more. And it's just a lot of like small, simple movements over a period of time. And it doesn't mean intellect goes away. Actually, intellect gets sharper and clearer and gets smarter at what it does, because now it has the interaction of intuition. But this is more about aligning with it than just making them interact better.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like that first one, the very first one we did is just about you two get along. Left side, right side, you guys get along with each other. But, a lot of our different practices are about going deeper and deeper into that right side. And, I gotta say from my personal experience, um, there's times where it's a little bit scary because there is like a bit of mystery to it. And it does feel like to the body, like the dying process, because
Oh,
usually that's the only time we'd experience that is when we're dying. And so, there's little pieces where you do a little movement and then, there's a little bit of pushback. So you notice like how we do the journey to the heart, or if you did the mechanics of light last weekend with us, where I did like a real soft, soft, soft way of going to the blue pearl, the mental permanent autumn. Or if we go to the physical permanent autumn, it's like little movements, just soft little movements, because it keeps the intellect from freaking out. If you go too fast, it's like, oh, I have this amazing experience, and then at some point, intellect will freak out. I mean, I've been there many times. And then after a while, I'm like, oh, God, there's got to be a better way. And the better way is soft and slow, just soft and slow. Yeah.
well, I was just wondering, we're talking about intuition. And so
Mhm.
is that the same as clairvoyance or
Yeah.
similar?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Okay.
yeah.
Or
Clairvoyance,
similar. Or,
intuition, the inner eye,
okay.
even the idea of awakening could be a different version of that. Realization or self-realization, enlightenment. Um, or I would say the version of that in the Christian tradition is grace. It's grace.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Well, this might be too simple, but I was wondering, will this perhaps play out in our everyday lives?
Yeah.
Like when we get like maybe a little, oh, well, like we have a little knowing, like
Yeah.
when you say it, you know, you start thinking about somebody and the next day they call you or something like
Right.
that. Is that
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
know you've been working with us. Thank
Yeah.
you so much, because I've been having more and more of those little things
Oh, that's so beautiful.
happen.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. Good for
But
you.
talking about the grace, it was yesterday I was going down the road and I don't know what made me put on the brakes and slow down, but I'm telling you, I rounded the curve and there was a cop sitting in the bushes.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like,
That's grace right there.
that was the grace.
Yeah. Yeah. See, like that's like, but if in the moment you slow down and hit the brakes, somebody said, "Why are you doing that?" You'd be like, I don't know.
That
But
was
there's just some
exactly it.
sense
Yeah.
of something, and then you, like you said, you come around the corner and there you go, you know? Yeah, like
Well,
it,
again, thank you so
you're
much.
so welcome.
I'll turn it over to somebody else. I appreciate all that you do for us. Thank you.
Yeah, see you next weekend too.
Yeah. Okay.
And we're still doing the ARC programming shares and questions, guys. And then I'll let you know when to raise your hand for the Q&A. So go ahead, Priya.
Hey, Priya, how are you?
Hey, I'm good.
Good, good.
Uh, this was great. This was nice. I had just come back from the shops and mind was just doing its own thing, and this just cleaned everything up. And I
Yeah,
know,
quite sit down, quite a bit. Like I mean I find, and like you said, you just came back from the stores, and I think that's what you call the mall, right? I think we call that the mall.
no, so I was at that same pet store and I was having the interaction with the same person from that
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
pet store.
yeah.
And so it was a very different experience that I had today. I was nothing like last time. It was totally different. And even though it was a positive experience, but mind, I've realized in the last few weeks that intellect can be refined and we can still be so stuck in it.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah,
So,
I would agree. Like you know, I would say that uh, you know, I say that a lot around here. Like I'm a better person when I'm working. And, you know, part of it is, you know, like if I'm bottling stuff or doing healings, you know, a lot of it is the intuitive mind. And you wouldn't think of that as being the intuitive mind. But, you know, like when you're exercising or when you're playing an instrument, or like for you, when you're creating and painting, that's the intuitive mind. And, you know, you're not really thinking about things, but there's a flow happening, right? And, you know, I could be bottling, I could be writing, I could be, you know, doing healings, you know, whatever it is that I need to do. And if I can stay in that and I can stay out of my intellect, that, you know, I still use my intellect for certain things, but I'm a better person when I'm in that flow rather than in my head. You know what I
mm,
mean? Yeah.
so yeah,
I
this
don't
was.
know that I've healed those things, but I don't let them weigh me down anymore. Like I
Mm,
just go, yeah, I'm not gonna do that dance with that part of my psyche or whatever, where it used to be that's all I was.
mm.
You know? Yeah.
Slowly getting there.
Yeah.
Um, but I know exactly what you mean when
Yeah.
you said freaking out, that we can freak out sometimes because I swear, a few weeks ago there was this time I felt like I was losing my mind, but now it feels like I was actually gaining more control over my
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was just not able to fully understand and align pretty much with everything that was going on in the inner, I would say. But
Right. I would agree. Yeah. like healing can like freak you out sometimes. You know,
Yeah.
it's like we were talking about that day where you know you start to make shifts and things start happening a little too fast and you're like, ah, I don't know what's happening. You know, I got to slow it down and but then a week or two goes by and you get used to it and it's really it's just something new. Like you can almost tell that something's happening that you do have a little bit of like fear or like I gotta pump the brakes or something's happening because it's movement, you know.
Mm,
And you know, I think sometimes we think that if we're in perfect alignment and we're doing those right things, that there's going to be no fear. And it's like, you know, you're going into an aspect of yourself that maybe you're not aware of, or you're starting to expand in a higher level of awareness or understanding. And to the lower parts of ourselves, it's a little bit of a freak out moment. You know,
mm,
it just,
mm.
yeah,
I know exactly what you
yeah,
mean.
yeah.
But
Yeah. Good for you.
thank you.
Yeah, you're so
So,
welcome.
last question
Sure.
on this one. The stack. If I was to do a stack for just more alignment,
Hmm.
what else could be used with?
So I would do this one. That's good. And then do the one for, God, what is that? Vajra Yogini.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, yeah. Vajra Yogini. Um, very good. Um,
Vajrayana.
okay, so Vajrayana, but Vajra Yogini is
Yogini is
the,
the oil.
yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
So I do that. And then I would do, hmm, I would do intuition, which I think is next week or 2 weeks from now.
Next week.
Yeah,
Oh no, 2 weeks from now. You're right.
yeah,
2 weeks.
yeah. And
Maybe
then
next week. I'll talk.
the one for the nervous system. You know, because the thing with the nervous system is part of the freak out is your nervous system is having to deal with something new and it's having to adjust and adapt to something new. So the more we keep rebooting our nervous system, the more that it adjusts and adapts to like our new inner place.
Mm,
And so, like the thing with the nervous system there is it's like a little bit of a reboot, you know, for the body.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and that also does make sense because when that
Mhm.
freaking out is happening, it is the I can feel that, it's my nervous system is just and
Oh yeah,
the
it's neurological. Yeah, it's totally
mm,
neurological. It's
mm,
it's not really, I mean, our emotions and mind get impacted, but it's not an emotional or mental, you know, I would say over the years, people have labeled that as that, you know, something psychological. Um, but it's not what's happening. It's they're just seeing like the effect and calling it that. But that whole idea of neuropsychology, you know, started to kind of shift that. And, you know, going back to the days when I was working with psychologists and things, you know, a lot of times they were hitting stumbling blocks because they weren't looking at physiology. You know, they were always just looking at everything as something psychological. It's something in the psyche. And, you know, there's whole healing modalities that's what they do. Everything's, you know, of the mind.
mm,
And the body is gross, you know, it's dense, it's heavy, it has form. And, you know, it's hard for the emotions and mind, especially for the average person, to override that. And you know, it doesn't mean that it can't agitate things and whatever, but most times if you look at the form and you go at the form and just start calming down different aspects of the form, it produces the emotional and mental, you know, the psychological component that you're trying to shoot for. And so, you know, I don't know. A lot of times people, like when we're trying to heal something, we look up when really we should be looking down, like down into more of the primal parts of ourselves or the neurological parts of ourselves. And if you go through and you temper that, all of a sudden it produces that emotional state that you're looking for, or that mental state that you're looking for. And yeah,
Yeah. Thank you so much. This
you're so welcome.
body aware, I'm getting better and better at it, at the
Yeah, good.
body aware, but I still remember where I started. Oh
Yeah.
my
I mean,
gosh.
look at how much progress you've made. You've made a ton of progress over a period of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm
Yeah.
very
Good for you.
grateful, and
Yeah.
I thank you for your patience during
Yeah.
those psychotic neuroses and
Yeah.
mad moments that you have to deal with sometimes, and I really appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. Like it's part of the journey. You know what I mean? Remember when we were talking about way in the beginning, I was like consistency and like things will start shifting. So the ups and downs, like I think for you say things like, "Oh, thank you for your patience." That's part of it. Is just the ups and downs, ups and downs. It's like you're trying to ride a wild horse and break the horse. And then eventually it calms down and you have a horse that you ride. And that's what happens with all of us, you know.
Thank you. I'm
Yeah.
glad to be on this path with you.
Yeah, yeah.
Cheers.
Good, good.
Man, I want to do that stack.
Yeah, I know.
You may just put that on the site, guys. So that will conclude our Auric programming journey for today. And get ready for next week. Next week is intuition with your clairvoyance
Oh,
oil.
nice. Yeah.
So that's going to be great. And if you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand in the chat now and we'll get to those. And then also feel free to always type into the chat any of your questions and things like that. So that we'll just call it good for the art program. And go ahead, Megan, start us off and then
Hey, hey.
Holly.
Hey, Greg. I've been having a little sleep trouble again. It's like not even the same kind of sleep trouble for a couple months, and I did a bunch of healing and it got better. And then this past week, I would wake up in the middle of the night for an hour, which isn't my usual sort of thing. It was more like wake up an hour before the alarm goes off and not able to go back to sleep. And the internet keeps, suggesting to me that I'm perimenopausal or something like that. And I thought, what if it's a hormonal issue? So I wanted to ask if you.
Yeah, I mean, it always could be hormonal. I mean, even I would say a lot of like insomnia is even without, if we take menopause off the table, can be hormonal or actually immune related. If you have bad allergies, even though they might not be manifesting as hay fever or sneezing or whatever, but the body could have bad allergies and that will actually cause um, insomnia. Like if you look at the over-the-counter, like Tylenol PM and all that stuff, all it is Tylenol and Benadryl. And that's, the calming down the immune response, the allergic response will then allow the person to go to sleep. Hormones, especially adrenaline, plays a role in waking us up in the morning. And so, when we kind of wake up and get out of bed or, whatever it is that we do in the morning, a little bit of adrenaline gets released to get us up and moving and get us out of our slumber. And so sometimes what happens is, you know, circadian rhythms can be off or hormone levels can be off, and the adrenaline is starting to kick in, way before it's time to wake up. You know, like you said, for a while, it might have been an hour before, but it could be the middle of the night. And you know, there's the theories where you look at the organs and different times mean different things. And you know, I think that works sometimes. I haven't always found it to be tried and true for a way to evaluate, but it is a way of looking at it. Always just look at it as you know, either adrenaline is getting kicked in too soon, um, or there is some sort of issue with the immune system. The other thing is, do you feel like you're processing anything, or you know, are you having interesting or insightful dreams, or you're kind of going through something, or
I can't really tell, but I mean, there's nothing particular on my mind, but I'm always like working booklets a lot. So
Mhm, mhm.
there's always phases of like a bunch of healing and a bunch of I don't feel great today, or like just little cycles I go through. And this has been a couple months, so now I'm like, okay, it doesn't seem like it's tied to like a class or a weekend.
Mhm, mhm.
And I tried for hormonal thing. I tried because I heard you suggest to someone sage, and then I tried, and that didn't seem to do anything. And then I was doing Petitgrin before bed, and that seemed to help for a while. And then it seemed to sometimes help, sometimes not help. So I don't know. And then a few weeks ago,
Which Pettigrew did you use? Like
uh,
the standard Pettigrew
just
or
yeah, just the standard that just says
standard Pettigrew? Okay. I mean that does suggest like if you're getting some sort of relief there, I mean that is a little bit of vagal tone. Um, Sage would have done that too, though. And are you getting hot flashes or anything?
no.
No. Okay.
Close the door.
Do you happen to have Angelica?
I just ordered that in a body tonic because my son, it was so interesting what you said about the vocal cords. And I know he has a ton of neck tension, and he has had this funny voice since he was little. Like we call it his
Uh-huh.
growly voice. So I can't wait to try
Right.
that on him. But yeah, it's like a tiny 4-ounce body tonic.
Yeah. Let's have you put some on that area between the back solar plexus and the Mingmen.
Mhm.
Um, there's this area there, you know, it's funny, we were just discussing this like right before we came on. And the best I can tell is like maybe, you know, it might have something to do with like the spinal thalamic tract or like how our body like processes um like stimuli, but like down in the body, you know, like in the second gut. But there's this area between the back solar plexus and the Ming Men. And like as I look at you, I've noticed a little blip there before, but like right now, there's like it's like your aura goes like this, and then there it goes like that, and then it's back again. And you know, you could even do like a little sweeping and stuff in that
Yeah.
area
Okay.
with like green and electric violet. But usually, I would use like Angelica for that, like inhaling it or putting it on the body. And for whatever reason, it's not necessarily a chakra or an energy center, but there are these things that you would call like inner meridians or fascial meridians that are not like the meridians that we normally do. I mean, it could be that. The only issue that I would say that makes me think that it might not be that is that that area can get like quite large. You know, where if it's like a meridian or one of the more dominant points, it's like things pop off, but they're not big. Where this will get like, that big around as it comes out the back. And usually when I go through and treat that on somebody, it makes the back of the knee, the ankle, and the soles of the feet expel more, and sometimes also like right at the base of the skull. I mean, it could just be tied to the nadis, the channels associated with the nostrils,
Yeah.
because they kind of spiral down, and it could be like a crossing point.
Okay.
So not necessarily a chakra, but a lot of times I either put like Angelica on that or I go through and just start working it energetically. And I've done it on Samantha a couple of times and other things that we're doing. She's like, I feel a little better. And then I'll do that. I go, how you feeling? She's like, I forgot about it. Like, I feel better.
Okay.
And
That'll be a
it's
fun
just a
experiment.
weird thing. And, I would say usually in both myself and like Samantha and a couple of clients that I've done that on over the last year or two, is that there is like a little bit of like stress or like maybe a vagal tone component in it, but it's not completely vagal tone. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, there's a little bit of an imbalance, but I don't know if the imbalance is causing that or that is causing the imbalance. Because, we do things to pop the imbalance back and then it doesn't stay. But then when I go through and treat that, it stays.
Yeah.
So, use the body tonic like on that low back area and then do your, sweeping or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Cool.
then
Will do.
let me know within a week.
Okay, I will. And yeah, I'll just report while I'm here, I think the claustrophobia is probably down at least 65, 70% of from 3 years ago. So I'm really happy. And it just seems like, yeah, those recent classes I'm kind of thinking. And also I've just been cleaning my Ming Men in general to help with sleep and stuff, and maybe that's helping. But
Yeah, I
very
keep
encouraging.
just yeah, I just keep working the nervous system and um and from time to time, even though you're working the nervous system, still do some work on the sex chakra just because you say sex chakra and even the navel chakra. I think it's more a sex chakra than anything, but it's just the instinctive part, like calming it down, cleaning it up,
Yeah.
because it's part of how we process and do things with the environment. And it's like you just kind of keep calming it down, calming it down, calming it down. And I don't know. I wouldn't say that it fixes it, but it helps keep shifting the nervous system so that the nervous system can keep like regulating itself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like if something does happen, it's like anxiety rather than full-blown panic, like I'm gonna
Right,
die panic, which
right,
was just awful. And so I'm like
right,
so happy. I'm like, okay, I don't have,
right,
you're just at home, you're like, you get invited to some random thing at a new place and you're like, oh, this is gonna be a problem. And now I
right.
just feel like, okay, if it's a thing, it's like I can get through it and it's not gonna just like wreck me. And it's
Well,
so much
good.
better.
Yeah, good, good. Yeah,
Well, thank you for all your help with that.
yeah, good.
Okay, thanks a lot.
You're so welcome.
And then go ahead, Lolly.
Hey, hey,
You could just unmute tonight.
Okay. Hi, how are you?
hey.
It always amazes me that it's so deep when we do the Auric programming, and I don't even understand why. I was completely out. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
what? Yeah, so currently that was needed, so thank you.
I know,
Oh
huh?
my God. So,
Yeah.
okay, so a few things. Let's see. Okay, yes. So the first thing I'm wondering about, so two oils that are actually not connected, but I'm okay. So if I'm looking at Violet Flame and I'm looking at Universal Healer, um, it kind of came up the other day, and I realized that both of them work on thought forms,
Mhm.
but they do it differently.
Very
But
differently.
right, but when I try to explain that in my mind or try to understand when to use each one of them, I got confused and I can't explain it. So what is, but you can. So what is the
Right.
difference and how do they
So
work?
I would say that the universal healer is good about cleaning up the thought forms that are either in the chakras or in the body, even in the brain, things that are connected to the brain. Like sometimes we have little thought forms that hang off the head or the brain. Um, it's good for that, even if it's stuff from other people. The difference between that and Violet Healer is Violet Healer is breaking up the thought forms like down below your feet and like the momentum of the things that we've attracted or put forth in motion that causes the things that Universal Healer cleans up. It's almost like more of a root cause rather than like Universal Healers cleaning up the crime scene. You know what I mean? Like I'd say Violet Flame goes after the crime family. Like, the whole enchilada of like why it happened. And, because like we get stressed out or we get really emotional or we have a repetitive thought and then we go, oh, I got over it. Well, we still sent the message out and we still sent that down into the earth. And there is going to be a corresponding thing that comes back. And as much as we work on the body and the emotions and the mind and the thoughts and the energy body, I mean, that's kind of like what you were just saying with the Auric program. The Auric program is unwinding the things that we've attracted over a period of time. And even doing it down below the feet, so it's specifically going after different things, but Violet Flame just goes to like clean up those things that we've set in motion from being upset or being stressed out or being very repetitive in our thoughts. And so it does clean up the energy body and does clean things up here, but it does it by purifying from the knee down and then down into the earth, the things that we're connected to in the energy body. So it's almost like it's a different like phase or aspect.
So then would you use both? Like you would use the Universal Healer first and then
Yeah, I don't know that really matters which one you do first. Like,
okay.
you could go back and forth with them definitely. The, like I would say, doing healings on somebody or myself or something, I might clean things up and then go, okay, that's good. Then I clean things down below the feet, but it does make the body expel, but I have to go back up to the body again. And so, you, you know, I don't know that it really matters. You're probably going to end up using Universal Healer maybe last, but which one you started with kind of doesn't matter. If I'd say if you're super stressed out and there's things that are really going on, I'd use Universal Healer and then go into the the Violet Flame. But the Violet Flame's pretty solid on itself. I mean, it does clean things up, and so you know they're both pretty juicy. They
Yeah.
just they do come at it from different angles, but like you said, it's hard for the mind to understand it. But if you look at it from the point of view of energetic mechanics, it's just like different points or different parts of the spectrum of the manifestation of the thoughts and the thought forms and the feelings and all that. And so one's not necessarily better than the other. They're just different parts of a spectrum. Yeah. If you really
Okay.
think about it, a lot of, because both kind of contain, like they kind of vibe with like anointing oils, like Universal Healer is mostly poplar, which is an anointing oil. They used to
Mhm.
call it the balm of Gilead. And bay laurel, kind of, maybe not an anointing oil, but they would burn it in temples and things. They would put little wreaths on it on people's heads and things. Um, and then you look at the idea of the things that are in violet flame. Um, it's maybe not exactly an anointing oil like of the old days, but it's got a vibe of it. It's like rose and frankincense and spikenard, which spikenard's kind of an anointing oil. Rose, kind of an anointing oil. Frankincense, kind of an anointing oil. Myrrh doesn't have myrrh in it. Jasmine, lang lang, lavender, sandalwood, kind of an anointing oil. And so it's got a bit of a vibe of that. So a lot of times the things that kind of clean us up here, but also potentially clean up like the pattern or below our feet, usually are in the vibe of an anointing oil, like manna and ketoret and friar's balsam isn't quite an anointing oil, but it's got components of it I'd still put it in that realm. Um, Even Ambramelon's in that vibe. And, a single one that we don't really think about like that is lemongrass. Super cheap, inexpensive, but in the Hindu tradition, it's still considered an anointing oil. And so those usually do way more than just physical and psychological things. They usually do um, a thing on the energy body or a thing below your feet that is more than what is just normal everyday life stuff.
Okay. Thank
Mm.
you. Makes sense. And then, so let's say you want to clean, like either do inhalations or do the spray or whatever, like clean the chakras, for example, and go one by one. Would you do, again, you can do either or basically.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
then,
you could spray on either one. You could
yeah.
spray on the body.
Mm-hmm.
Both would be good to spray on the feet. Like if you're spraying it on the feet, I'd probably go a little bit more with violet flame.
Mm-hmm.
Because the idea, like the reason violet flame is, it's almost like you're standing in something that's purifying, because there's moments where we clean below the feet, and in that moment it's almost like it has like this purifying effect on the aura and the body. It doesn't last forever, but it's just like almost whatever arises kind of gets like disintegrated a bit. And the thing with violet flame is, that's why it's called that, is you work it and it kind of puts the body in a state for just a little bit where whatever kind of arises like gets disintegrated. And it's not the oil itself that's doing that. It's the oil putting your energy body in a particular kind of state that allows that to happen. And so, that one would probably be a little bit better on the feet than the universal healer, but either one would work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, because I went back and forth. I'm like, what's okay. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
And then some follow-up.
That was one of the very first classes I ever taught, was like anointing oils,
Oh wow.
like 7 or 8 years ago.
Oh, at least 8 years ago
Yeah,
now.
it might have even been 10 years ago.
Yeah, it might
Yeah.
have.
Yeah, it might have been longer than that. 12, God, I'm getting old. Yeah, but it was one of the very first classes I ever taught, was anointing oils.
Wow. And it's fascinating, all the information and everything that's connected to that. Oh my God. Thank you. So okay, so that was that. Now let's do a couple of follow-ups. So my eyes are, got to a point that it's better, not
Mhm.
resolved yet. So there's still a little bit of inflammation. Oh, and I sent you the information for the what I've been taking. So I don't know if you had a chance to look at that or scan that
Did you send email or text?
text.
Okay, I'll have to go back and look.
Okay. So again, I'm doing the same things. I'm not stressed out about it. The left eye, which is the main issue, I still feel something there, and you can still see a little bit. And I feel something like a little bit of pain or discomfort, or so I guess it's a matter of giving it time, unless something else comes up that I'm missing. But somebody earlier today, I did some blood tests, and the girl over there mentioned that actually her grandma used to use horsetail for the eyes, like do a compress with that. And I mean, you mentioned horsetail before. I think it's also in the vein blend, right? Do you have any thoughts about it? Like,
I've never used it for that, but I mean, I could see that might do something. Yeah, I mean, I would get it like a tea, and like you said, like do like a tea bag or something, or make a tea and then dip like cloths in, and you could do that. The other thing that I would say is I do some work on the liver.
That's okay.
Yeah, like the liver would still play some roles in the eyes, and it's not like a thing that I'd go to for like a sty, but that the eyes have been having so much issue and that you've been going through so much stress and everything, those organs of blood purification are going to be impacted. And when I look at you, your liver's, I mean, it's not super unhappy, but it's cranky.
Yeah.
I mean? Yeah.
And also my skin has been acting up, so I wasn't sure if
Yeah.
my liver is
It's probably
detoxing
your
or it
liver.
needs to
Yeah.
be detoxing. Okay.
Yeah, I would say, any of the things that you could do for, I mean, even helichrysum, Greenland moss, burdock, lemon, goldenrod, carrot, any of those things are good for the liver. Um, uh, burdock. Let's see what else. I don't know. You're not getting like fevers or anything, right? Like low grade
No.
fevers. Bouts of heat, like in your body. Do you ever get bouts of heat?
No, not really. I run
Okay.
really, I'm cold most of the time, so for me to get hot, it's like, and I've
Yeah.
been actually doing infrared
Okay.
sauna at least once a week, so at least my body's detoxing that way as well.
Yeah, if you're getting low grade fevers, I would say there's a syrup called vervain, but it's good for the liver, but it's usually when there's like little spontaneous bouts of like a super low grade fever, like, up a degree or a degree and a half. Um, yeah, just do the ones that we talked about. Lemon, you can throw some lemon in the mix. Just put a bunch of lemon in your water and just be drinking that. Lemon will be very slow. Uh,
Yeah.
the other thing is you could jumpstart with a little bit of peppermint for a day or two, and then go to rosemary verbena. Rosemary verbena, another one very good for the liver. So do a little bit of work for the liver. Yeah, I mean you've done a ton of stuff to the eyes, so your body. I mean you bounced back from this trip faster than you did the other one.
Yeah.
I think you kind of went into it with your eyes open a little bit better and handled,
Yeah.
got yourself back on track quicker. And so, but you spend a bunch of time on the eyes, like I think the liver might be helpful.
Okay. So the last few days I've been doing the carrot seed actually topically on my liver. Do I need to take it internally?
I probably would.
Okay.
Doesn't
Fine.
have to be every day, but
Okay.
But like I like the idea of you putting things over your liver, like do a little, I'd rotate it, like do rosemary, verbena and that, and maybe a little helichrysum, just
And helichrysum I do pretty much all over. Today I've been
yeah.
doing parsley as well, body tonic. I've been on the Asayak, which I cannot, the Sam's tonic for
Yeah, ECAC.
the
Yeah.
yes, the ACX. I've been on that for a
Mhm.
week now.
Oh, good.
Yeah, once or twice a day. So I guess I can just keep doing that, like what, twice a day?
Oh, yeah. That's super good
Okay.
for you. Yeah, super good for you.
And then peppermint, I'll do it more regularly.
I
So
think you're doing enough already just with what you talked about. Like just
and I'm doing
try taking a couple of drops of like rosemary verbena or helichrysum or
which I do because I also do the cholesterol support.
okay. Then just try doing some topically and just see if you can't work that a little bit more.
Okay. And then as far as my skin really, which I was wondering about, so my skin been acting up the last few days. And it's like it doesn't look happy, like a little bit of
Yeah,
breakup.
it is probably your liver.
So okay, so then does it mean that it means that the liver needs to be detoxing, or does it mean that it is detoxing and it comes out through the skin?
Probably needs to be detoxed a little bit more. Like
Okay.
the liver can still impact like vagal tone and the nervous system, making an impact homeostatic emotions. It has an impact on hormones and sometimes even like hormones can like accumulate in the liver for a period of time, and the liver will kind of become almost like hormonally toxic, and so there's all kinds of weird things that can happen, and so good just to kind of flush things out a bit and just get things back on track from time to time.
Okay. So yeah, so that kind of covers
Mhm.
both the eyes and the skin. Okay, so
Mhm,
thank you,
mhm,
because I was wondering
mhm.
about that. Okay. Any inhalations or any patterns that can be helpful for that?
The organs of blood purification you could do with any of those oils that we talked about.
Okay.
Uh, like in the plant teachers kit, there's
Mm-hmm.
tuberose. I think there's
Yeah.
tuberose in there, isn't there?
Yes.
Do the organs of blood purification, but with tuberose,
Okay.
because that won't necessarily target the liver specifically, but it will target the nervous system and do things to the nervous system that would be good.
Okay. Cool. I'll do that. Thank
Yeah.
you. And then the other thing, which again, I don't know, it could be connected. So my lower back, which I haven't mentioned in a while, overall, it's not, it is what it is and it's okay. But the red spot that I had before I traveled and kind of this, so when I wake up in the morning, there's like a red spot on the lower back on the right side.
Mhm. Mhm.
When I traveled, it wasn't there.
Mhm.
Since I came back, it's there most days.
Mhm.
Also, there's some itchiness on the lower back. I'm guessing, I mean, I'm sleeping differently. It's a different bed. So I don't know. And I'm using helichrysum on it at least a couple times a day.
Mhm.
Um, I, so I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't
I
know if
would go
there's
back
anything
to the
else.
way we were talking about that way back when, is there's spinal nerves that are being compressed in the low back.
Right. So
Yeah.
that's what. So it's still the same. So still working with helichrysum. Is there anything else that I can?
You can try rotating, like, if something's not producing long-term effects, I always like the idea of rotating things. So marjoram, helichrysum, pain soothe, peppermint, pain relief, neuropathic, um, nerve help. I would
Mm-hmm.
keep rubbing all of those on the not just the low back, but your hips, because you do have, the
Mm-hmm.
history of the pelvic bones being injured. And so
Yeah.
I would treat the soft tissue in that area. Yeah.
Okay, so rotating, okay, yeah, I'll do more of that because I kind of got, okay. Thank you. And then just one last question. There's acne blend or acne, I guess topical, that's how you call it on the website. I'm just wondering what's in that.
I have to look it up.
I'll look it up too, Greg.
Sorry, I have a bunch of different recipe books. I have to, a couple of them are just more of like when I made it rather than in alphabetical order.
And just heads up, it's the 2-ouncer that I think is in the aloe vera, but I could be wrong on that. Okay. So.
I'm not seeing that. Yeah, I might have to get back to you on that one. I don't see it.
Okay.
It's in one of my recipe books, but I'll have to do a deep dive. And another thing that works, tea tree will draw acne out, but
Yeah.
that's not always the desired effect when it comes to working with reducing acne. But another one that's a little bit of a sleeper for acne is eucalyptus Deves.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's the one that kind of smells like eucalyptus and peppermint together.
Mm-hmm.
It actually is good for acne. Give me just one more minute here. Correct myself up when I do this. Yeah, I can't find it.
Yeah, it's
It's
okay.
in one of my recipe books. I'll have to do another dive for
Yeah,
doing it.
no problem. Sounds good. Thank you so much.
And then go ahead, Ralph.
Hey, Ralph.
Hey Greg, question, is the Thousand Petal Lotus class coming up this weekend, the bang for the buck class for the month?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. 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 I think, you know, the vagal tone class was a Divine Calm. It's a really super deep dive in vagal tone, like deep, way deeper than we've ever done before. But that's a free class. And then what's the class we're doing the following weekend?
Working brainwaves for
Yeah,
materialization.
which is a class we've done a couple of times. Um, uh, that is Samantha's birthday weekend, and so I let her choose the class, and that's her one of her favorite classes. So we're doing that one, and then there'll be another review class the weekend after. We just haven't decided which one. But yeah, the Heart in a Thousand Petal Lotus is the big push. Yeah,
Okay, good, thanks.
and it's got like 14 or 15 angels that will be integrated into the encyclopedia as well.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I'm still practicing with the basic angel practice, so.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
You're so welcome.
And then just about the free class coming up, the tuning into your divine calm. You say how it's the deepest dive on vagal tone. Now you're always talking about vagal tone, but this one seems like it's going to be a little different.
Yeah, we're going to go through each, like we're going to start with like where it comes out, and we're going to look at the inner ear, and we're going to look at the vocal cords, and we're going to look at, you know, the muscle and fascia, and we're going to look at, you know, specifically on the heart, and we're going to look at the lungs and the bronchioles and also the respiratory rate. You know, because a lot of times we just look at the bronchioles. We don't really address the respiratory rate a whole bunch. Then we go into the digestive tract, the urinary tract, but then we look at homeostatic emotions and how they either impact vagal tone or get stirred up because of vagal tone. You know, going back to even the idea of like phobias and things like that, that all could play a role into that. The effects of trauma. I mean, we're going through and looking at different pieces like under the microscope so that we can, you know, a lot of times we do like a very general, like let's get our body out of fight flight and increase and improve vagal tone. But like even the idea of working with angels, like working with angels is another way of you're working vagal tone in different ways. And so a lot of times we have pieces that have good vagal tone of our physiology, and then we have pieces that don't. And you know, like a really big one is the vocal cords. You know, the vocal cords in the inner ear. As we get older, the inner ear just it increases the level of poor vagal tone as we just get older and older and older. And you know, it throws off our balance, but I would say it also can produce anxiety. It can make the emotions a bit unstable just because our equilibrium's off. And so it can really stir things up. It can cause adrenals to be over activated. And so, you know, we're looking at vagal tone in the endocrine system, but not just how the glands impact vagal tone, but how vagal tone impacts the glands, like going back and forth. And, you know, we'll do it through practice. We don't necessarily have to sit and memorize or have some deep understanding of it. But as you go through and have a practice, you'll realize, oh, you know, the one that kind of blows my mind is the vocal cords. It it when I really started doing a deep dive on the vocal cords, it relaxed my joints. And I'm still kind of blown away by it, and I'm still don't quite understand it completely. But you know, even synovial fluid and how the joints lubricate, it changed after I did the work on the vocal cords. And so there's these weird correlations that we don't really see why, that doesn't make sense intellectually, but from a physiological viewpoint, these systems are so interconnected that, when we look at it from the point of view of a symptom-oriented approach, it kind of doesn't make sense. But when you look at it as this big system and what it's doing and how it functions and how it allocates itself, there's some sort of component there, but it doesn't make sense from the point of view of symptoms. And so we're doing a very deep dive on that one. Yeah. Yeah.
Someone's asking, same oil kit for brainwaves. I think what you're asking, is it the same oil kit that was in the working brainwaves for materialization for the 2.0 class? And yes, it is.
Yes. Yeah.
So if you took the working brainwaves
Yeah,
for
yeah, be the
materialization
same one.
class, it'll be the same kit.
Yeah. But it will be a 2.0 version. Yeah.
It's gonna be great. Join us. Would the Divine Calm class be good for weary beginners?
Yeah, I would say it's a very good, solid place to begin. Because if we don't have good vagal tone, then our body's not really healing. And so, it's not going to be some crazy amount of information where like you're going to feel like you need to study and understand. I'm just going to guide us through these different places so you can have experiences, and then we'll talk about a little bit of why. But by the time we're done with that weekend, you'll have a good feeling of like, these are the areas in me that I need to work. I would say it's part treatment and part diagnostic. As you go through and you do this, you'll go, oh man, this one really made me feel different. You got to work that area, you know. And sometimes, when we look at it from the point of view of symptoms, we think, well, this symptom, how do I make it go away? And how do I get back to where I was? Where, we might have been operating in a bad spot for 30 years or 40 years and just didn't know it. And so the idea to go through and to start unwinding these things in the body, it's a great way to do exploration and kind of learn as you go along. So, the old timers will get something out of it, but the new people will get something out of it too, you know.
Excited about this weekend's class.
Hmm.
I said, you, me, and the whole office is.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
That, yeah.
I mean, this weekend's class is the genius class. Am I right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it increases the ability to break out of repetitive patterns and break out of either self-imposed cages or cages from situations or from other people, even breaking out of, like, I don't know the word to use, karmic weight. We come in sometimes with just this gravity or weight that we can't really get too far from, and it's a way to break out of that. And yeah,
Oh boy.
I know. Yeah, it's tied to the deeper practices of working aspects of the planets. This one's specifically about the moon, right? And so, like, I think I was sharing the other day, like, even with Astara, it's part of a mystical practice. When you go deeper within, it's tied to practices of the moon. And, you have the cycles of the moon and everything. But like people that have really studied the degree lessons like for a long period of time and have like demonstrated it a little bit at Astara, I give them a little talisman that's associated with um, the first aspect of the moon, and it's about like breaking iron and brass like gates, or iron being is tied to, it's the old way of saying karmic issues. And then brass is like self-imposed or imposed by other people. And so it's a way to break out of those things. And so, that's part of our spiritual journey or mystic journey is kind of unlearning the things that we learn from life and from school and other people, and learning more about ourselves and who we are and what the soul is. And so, it's tied to these gates of iron and gates of brass. Yeah. I have a ring that has the talisman on it that I wear a lot. Yeah.
Gonna be good. Yeah, that looks like the shares and questions. We have a little bit of time.
Yeah, let's do a practice.
Yay.
The other night we were talking about the materialization breath and over the weekend, and I would say, the thing with the materialization breath is, it helps to displace the elements that we've attracted over a period of time, but also it helps to refine the will, always moving it to a more appropriate form of will and developing spiritual will. And so, we could use a lot of different oils, but things like hyssop, cinnamon, um, aloes, tuberose, any of the anointing oils, like Lolly was asking about Universal Healer and Violet Flame, like you could pull those out. I used aloes for this quite a bit. So let's go ahead and give them choices. Grab an oil.
Yeah, sorry. Reposted to you guys. Okay, let me repost those oils for you guys. You can go ahead and grab. Just one is all you'll need for the practice. You guys might have gotten it, but there you go. And we'll start the practice here in just a minute.
Okay. So you're going to take your bottle and you're going to hold it to your chest, right? And head down, inhale through your nose, hold your breath, head up, exhale through the mouth. So that would be one breathing cycle. So down, inhale, up, exhale. 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 Down, up, down, up, down, up. Just be still. You're just being still. Now, you can use this for healing You could use this for working on a particular issue. You could work this on something with another person or a situation. You could use this also for goals. I mean, to a certain extent, you could even use this for working with angels if you wanted. So think of something you'd like to work on. If you're working on a situation or working on a thing with another person, just think of the person. Don't think of the details or set an intention. Just focus on the person, the situation, the area of healing. Just focus on it. And we're letting the light do all the work. You're materializing light. You're still focused on the goal. And then just let it go. Completely let it go. Now, again, bottle to your chest, chin down, inhale, hold your breath, up, exhale, down, inhale, up, exhale, down, inhale, up, exhale, down, inhale, up, exhale, down, inhale, up, exhale, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Just be still. Just be still. Let's do it one more time. Reflect on that area of healing, that person, that situation. And then let it go. Bottle to your chest, chin down. Inhale, up, exhale. Down, 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 inhale, up, exhale. Just be still. Just be still. Well, thanks for a good session tonight. And we're going to go over to the Astara Blessing the Prayer Petitions. If you want to join us for that, we do a little bit of a little quick meditation or a little something, and then we bless the prayer petitions. So it's always a good way to spend 15 minutes. So join us if you can. We're posting the link. And if not, tomorrow night will be a study group that was for a free class. So all are welcome. So, okay, you guys. Talk to you soon.